Gentlemen, ladies, and every other listener and watcher, welcome back to our RFKT work broadcast, coming to you prepared and direct from the middle of nowhere, that being the ocean. Welcome back, or welcome new person, part 3, but you do you, to Factorio Seablock belts only. Now, with the vaunted hype feature on YouTube Mobile. If it exists, that is. And when I say belts only, I mean belts only. Kind of, but we get there when we get there. If you got no idea what's going on, too bad. You got the previous 2 parts, but to keep it short, power, steel, and the means of getting into the early mid-game. Not really. Probably, but first, infrastructure. Onwards and upwards, dear listener. Failure to set my color aside, you'll have stared at this abomination and wonder, what on earth is this? A schematic? For ants? To answer the rude question first, yes, and to further elaborate, each of these are segmented ideas for the design, not the design itself. Spark notes, essentially. Sticky notes stuck together to form a cohesive whole, if that makes sense, and if it doesn't, just keep pace and nodding your head. We hired 4s off his ability to endure lethal doses of radiation, not competence. Algae stick is getting some renovation first, for 2 reasons. 4s remember that trees are necessary for further progression, and my favorite new buzzword, that hasn't appeared 30 times in scripting, power. Though our first new technology, researched a little bit ago, filter inserters, annoying, costly, and I only have a few. Given the name, we can set filters on what they can grab. An additional fact is that filter inserters do not exist in Factorio 2.0, as the regular inserters cannibalized their different brothers, and evolved the filters from the metallic flesh they had. Brutal, horrid, and I wish I had those, as it'd make my life easier. But we work with what we have. This is a dual setup, one for green algae, one for brown. This is to split off the products. Mixing them on the same belt will only increase the likelihood of a jam, which is, in the business, no bueno. Green makes the power generation, brown helps make soil. Simple, just like a kiss. Here we see 4s in his natural environment, forgetting that we have a handy spreadsheet at our disposal. Clearly, he threw it in the ocean. The damned kit. Right. The arboretum and desert tree generator. The generator doesn't matter, I think. Probably later, regardless, the tree generator makes the seeds from the soil and water. The arboretum grows them with more water and soil. Problem, however, is that we need mud. Mud is used for land increase. Therefore, our necessity to grow larger due to the size of the buildings we manifest is a problem. What a problem to have, that is. Back to the bottom of the list it goes. If I can't see it, it doesn't exist. Some more math. Me too, 4s. Me too. It hurts my head too. Skipping over that bit, surely nothing important will occur. Foreshadowing was not part of his paycheck this time. We look at the humble windmill. Now the windmills on first glance appear useless. 15 kilowatts? But these are actually pretty overpowered. Why, I hear you ask? The previous video you said you needed multiple megawatts, often rising up to 20 even. You shall say. You see, like any good mod pack, the one inevitable force that arrives is a friend and killer of servers. Spam. If the developer or developers don't give you a proper solution, brute force it to the burning sky with anyone else's experience. Progress is what matters. Windmills are cheap. 120 of them is equal to 1.8 megawatts. So, the key thing is that the power is constant because no wind actually passes by. I remember a mod tried that, but it was prone to crashing and ruining the other calculations within the game itself, so we can get power for the cost of space. Pretty good deal, all things considered. I mean, it is an eyesore, but given the current state of the base, we can be snobbish later. Now, where was I? Oh right, power. Overwhelming. The constant power output reduces our fuel consumption down the line, because the power grid is smart. More windmills means steam locks up no more steam generation. No consumption of burnt fuel, meaning we can siphon off a bit of that, on occasion, for other ventures. Delightfully devilish, and if I might be allowed the stage, my dear listener, I believe the windmill should actually give 100 kilowatts because Seablock is long enough as is, and that makes getting into the whole mod pack much more fun. Alright, soapbox was confiscated, back to work. Here we see the 2 mud recipes. Here we see the setup. Here we see the fertilizer from long ago. The setup is complete and the buffer crafting may now begin. Look at that. It's beautiful. Oh yeah, I made a third assembler and put it in. It doesn't do much, but it overconsumes. But you know, a little bit of help. Ingot checkup. Yep. That's iron and manganese. Alright. It makes a lot of iron by alloying. How devious. Alright, back to figuring out trees. They're pretty simple. Soil, water, seeds. This creates trees, which in turn we need to process later. The funny thing is that these buildings have no animation, but they do make noise. I think it's the exact same as the algae farms. What a sound. Right, so, for wood we need to cut into the tree with a saw. This saw has a 90% return rate, the other 10% being the saw itself breaking, or imitating that. The solution, of course, is not to care about this because it's always a 50-50, it's just weighted in our favor. Look at all that soil. Finally figuring out how trees work is crazy, right? Here we see me using the fun thing that is Bob's inserters and creating this weird reach setup. This isn't even the final form, and it will get worse. But the saws go in, and the wood comes out. Take your bets and make your prediction in the comments below of how much wood we will get. You get 3 seconds. That was more than 3 seconds, but oh well. Onwards to 10 and stocking up. Soon, dear listeners, we will have a somewhat stable foundation. Reference. More wood cutting, get those bets ready, get those chips on the table, the house will win. Right, and the final amount is 6,400, give or take. Now ain't that a decent bit of change? We will mow through it all and not even be close to ready. But you know, a quarter is still closer to a whole. Glass is almost half full. Alright, getting stiff with it, time for mass production of infant electronics. Or would it be the formation of electronics? I'll bother Matthias about it later. Next up on the shopping list, clearing out all this rubite for lead. Unfortunately, I am stopped by my own idiocy again, because the warehouse near Arboriculture is full, and we need to make it into stone. This stone will become bricks, and those bricks are necessary for pretty much every building in quantities that, frankly, are ridiculous. A brief land expansion reprieve, a break, one might say. Remember, even the hardiest of engineers need to lay some land every once in a while. Why did saying that sound off? Back from the land expulsion, we return to the copper, and then circuits of wood. Appreciate the production, really watch the assemblers. Assemble everything together. I'm sure it's simple enough. More copper, wait, didn't I do that already? Huh. Must be a dilation issue. And now for something completely different. We ran out of charcoal for arboriculture. I forgot the setup didn't have a charcoal belt. No, I didn't make one afterwards, because that would be the smart thing to do, and engineers are not smart. Refill the stock and let it cook, like those stews in the olden days. Just throw another thing in, it'll probably taste okay. More copper wire. I need more copper wire, Arthur. Just give me a little more. Now, a bit of steel didn't hurt anybody, and I can taste the progression. It's close. It's so damnably close. Another battalion of circuits to the front, General. We'll show Yuri just what he's missing. Grab the circuits, check the steel, and smile at the devious scheme. It's time for our new tech, which is technically old tech, but you know, better cheap than nothing. But enough about that. More green science, handcrafted, as any gentle fox would do. Right, the plan, kind of, research of Electrical Distribution 1, Washing 2, which is the final washing we do, Logistics 2, which I thought I did but clearly the truth was otherwise, and Automation 2 because I forgot it as well. Here we see red science, and here are the labs for which the delectable red liquid is to be consumed. We also see 2 other sciences. Don't worry, that's a Future 9's problem. Foreman's job, not mine. Look at that zappin' research. Beautiful, isn't it? Energy Distribution 1, Logistics 2, and a brief detour to look at the violent methods for disposal of pesky parasites. Automation 2, Washing 2, Physical Projectile Damage 1, and Military Methods 2. A quick examination of the windmills. Yep. Those sure are windmills, alright. Alright, now onto the actual production of our renewable and infinite power source. With that, we build. Enjoy this sped up footage and admire, or rather marvel, at my stupid plan. It really is quite the idea, and I only figured it out whilst AFK because, of course, another thing comes into play here. Power, I've mentioned a few times, but I'm not sure I mentioned it in the previous videos, which you should watch given this is part 3. Silly. But one of the other things is that I'm just sick of the same old power schematics. Big spoiler, or rather not, I was debating on whether to use nuclear power or lock myself only to burning fuel of various varieties. Then, of course, that conflicts because doshdoshington of Seablock fame, you might know him. No one really important, small YouTuber, you may have never heard of, did something with liquid fuel, and me, being the absolute petty and stupid person I am, decided that, why take the easy road to success? Henceforth, if I hadn't said this already, but we are stuck to renewable energy and burner sources. That's right, no nuclear, no thorium, no liquid fuel burning. We get charcoal, solar panels, wind turbines, and batteries. That's it. To those uninitiated, this doesn't sound too bad, but to those who know, sorry to say, but it's time we grow a spine and put it back into the body. If your thoughts equate to, wait, you just don't want to do the exact same thing a normal person would do, don't you? Congratulations, you figured out my disastrous plot. I'm weird, I'm schizophrenic, but most of all, I'm petty, and like to smash my head into the remaining cinder block supply of the world. And besides, it's much more fun for me because it's an additional challenge. So yeah, belts only and power infrastructure restriction challenge. Bet you didn't see that one coming, did ya? Another break in the action to await the forging of metals, mainly iron, but some copper as well. If you cast your gaze to the top right, or left, depending on orientation, wait, that's not how it works, is it? Regardless of my failure to understand basic orientation, 86 hours on the board, that means we are about 3 days into the challenge. 3 real-life days, mind you, and of course, the 4th day is coming up close. Put your predictions in the comments below how long this entire run will take, and, I don't know, I'll plaster you in the end of the video or supercut as the accurate or close to accurate position. So get to placing those predictions, baby. Right, with that out of the way, they say getting bricked up is a euphemism for something, though I only know it in terms of constructing cinder blocks. Alright, onward to the actual production of proper power infrastructure, in the form of more algae farms than pipes, and finally give algae farm 2s gears for the inserters. A minor detour to place down all those tier 2 algae farms. You might ask yourself, will this be enough to enter the mythical early game? My sources tell me yes. My mind, however, cautions that I say no. Force, however, is begging to be released from his mortal coil. We experience an industrial spill of metal. We then clean said spill, is what I would say, but Force gets distracted and looks at the research tree. You might ask, is this the plan? No. Moving on. We clean the industrial spill, for real this time. I experienced a moment of idiocy that was too easy to make fun of myself for. These ore sorters need crushed ore, not regular ore. I forget this, and subsequently felt a deep dread at any moment of my stupidity, because now it is marked in time and people will make fun of me on the internet. The Factorio forums will know of my fumble. Whoa. That bit of idiocy out of the way, I crushed them properly this time. We then sort them out for more lead. Now, with all that earned lead, another blast furnace, making lead ingots, also makes sulfur dioxide gas, which we then store and then get rid of later because I am not routing more pipes. With those lead ingots we make plates, and this impromptu setup, I can taste the roads. Further infrastructure placement and expansion of our land permit. The infrastructure placed down, back to the grind of science and making that green cream soda, and from that we've made 1,000 by hand. Well, technically by assembler, but you get the idea. Here we see the science roundup. That's right, my dear listener, I don't follow it either. You've learned from the previous statement. Good, good, good. I mean, I could be lying to you in order to pull you from the carpet that's right underneath your feet. Or is this, in and of itself, a lie? 'Tis the question. Here we see Force asking if this will be the final round of research before we reach the vaunted early game. To which I answer him, maybe. And soon. I can guarantee that it won't be 7 years before we get something done, that's for sure. No silk producing on site goes against regulations. This research is sure to be the one, right? Are you certain? Are you assured of your fate, Naravar? Well, guess what, you bumbling fool. It's not. Such sweet innocence. Alright, research roundup. Ready, set, Factorio. Lab research 1 gets things done faster. Fooled you? Not really. I see you fell over, so before we continue green circuits and filter inserters, and have this bonus moment of Force having a mental break and shouting at the sky. Or camera, in this instance. I was on lunch break. Now, we fill the labs, which I made more of off screen, because the whole process was just boring, so I skipped it. Don't worry, I have to automate it later, when we actually construct the beast. Right, now, definitely, okay, the bet's alt. Yes, this is the actual research path this time. More inserters unlocks more configuration options for where the inserters can reach. Good for making smaller and more compact builds, which we will need for later. Fast inserters are just better inserters. Advanced ore refining is not useful right now, so we ignore it. Hydro refining is in the same boat and is merely a progression bump we need. Yes, we will use it later. Advanced chemistry unlocks tier 2 buildings and some other recipes that don't matter at the moment. Water treatment 2 is pretty much in the same boat for the time being. Advanced material processing and metallurgy 2 are better buildings too. However, I kill metallurgy 2 for now in order to make space for figuring out the basics of an engine. Try not to think about it too hard, it'll hurt your brain. Now, the research proper. More inserters 1, fast inserters, advanced ore refining 1, hydro refining, water treatment 2, and we take a quick pause back to the research screen to investigate potential purchases. Fluid handling is as it says, meant to handle fluids. Jack's 35 pressure tank, my beloved. Inventory size upgrade. It's barely anything. The creation of paper from literal sludge. Circuit conditions, my beloved. And advanced chemistry. Hey, wait a minute. Didn't I already research that? Anyway, the engine is understood and ready to pollute. Fluid handling for all my delicious chemicals. The pressure tank as a side dish, of course. A new fancy tool belt made from sturdy Minotaur leather. Forrest better be thankful for this. I hate skinning the Taurs. The creation of paper, and thereby the technology of notes, is real and true. Fun fact. During this period of research, I discovered insomnia exists within me. That's crazy, ain't it? Oh, and circuit networks are cool as well, I guess. Advanced chemistry, which, despite its name, is not advanced in our hidden guest research of resin. Plastics? In this oceanic turmoil? More likely than one might think. But wait, there's more. In nitrogen and charcoal processing. 2. And I try to squeeze in one more research, just to test my luck. I immediately struck down for my hubris. Very rude. Seeing as this episode is coming to a close, and we are getting closer to that mythical early game, and maybe setting up a main bus, but first we still have many checklists in the form of more rubite. With this doohickey setup, 2 crystallizers make ore. It then gets crushed, the crushed stone gets stored away, the crushed rubite gets sorted into lead and nickel and then stored away. Yes, it is an AFK machine. Yes, I hate making these, but you gotta do what you gotta do. But with that out of the way, we come to a close on this 3rd episode. Hopefully by the time this releases, it is the 1st week. What day? Who knows? I make no guarantees because I am seeking employment due to my crippling lack of funding from the public free radio grants. They sift me out of my payment 7 times. So instead we venture to this land of YouTube. If you wish to support the venture of this humble radio host, then by all means consider a subscription, hyping the video if it exists, and coming back on the regular. Matthias may have busted the transmitter, but he's working to get it fixed. Remember, I try to get things out in the 1st and 3rd week of the month. When exactly, it depends on whether I'm not intoxicated off sugar fumes. I've been your gracious host, and a heartfelt thank you for watching. If you don't, I'm going to throw 9 into the nickel forge and make him into a blood lightning rod. Linktree is in the description if you want to look at my other ventures. If I'm doing them, that is. If not, then I'll see you later.
Okay, bye-bye.